Welcome into the latest edition of the Steelin' with the Boys podcast. I am your host, Junie Riddle, here along with my boys,
Juwan Williams and Coach Campbell.
Fellas, the Steelers took what appears to be their worst loss of the year, falling to the Philadelphia Eagles 27-13, and the streak in Philadelphia continues. Something that I had been preaching to you all weeks and weeks. I did not think that this game was one that could be winnable. And to be honest with you guys, I know it looked really ugly, but coming out of that game, in a weird sense, I honestly feel a little bit better about the Steelers than I did going into it. Is that a little bit weird for you guys?
Actually not, because
Why though?
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you. Here's why. If I had to do a rankings of 1 to 32 of teams that match up with the Steelers perfectly, a team that I would not want to see. Say the Steelers make the Super Bowl and there's just one team I don't want them to see, it's Philadelphia. And why is that? Because the Steelers like to beat teams on the line of scrimmage. And what did I send you in my preview while I was out last week? I said Philadelphia is probably the one team that can match up with us on both sides of the ball. And when you look at this game and you look at the difference in what happened, I mean, it came down to 3 plays. It came down to the penalty on Darnell Washington and Calvin Austin in the end zone, which should have been offsetting. That backed them up so far that there was no way that they were going to score a touchdown. And I think that they would have scored a touchdown, them being right inside the 5. Then you also look at the penalty on Mont Adams on the field goal kick where he gets pushed into the long snapper, and instead of them getting a field goal, they go on and get a touchdown on that drive. And then the Najee Harris fumble, right? Like, we're driving. I believe it was 17-13 or it was 20-13 at the time.
it was right after the flea flicker.
It was a 1-score game. And we were driving down the field. We had been driving down the field all second quarter, all third quarter, getting in our rhythm, and then that fumble happens. You know, the Steelers were playing well enough to be in the game against the team that I thought matched up against them better than anybody. And they did it without their number one offensive weapon. So with all that, again, the Philadelphia Eagles were the better team. I'm not saying that we should have won, but I'm saying that the score in the box score itself is not indicative of where the game was. A lot of people said, oh, the Steelers got demolished, the Steelers got smacked, this, that, and the other. If you want to go read a box score, that's fine by you. But for me to see them fight when they were outmatched and outclassed in that game and stay in it, to be honest with you, when this team gets a little bit healthier, again, this is also without Ogunjobi, without Elliott. When this team gets a little bit healthier and we can make it into the playoffs healthy, I feel a little bit more strongly about this team. I really do.
And that's what I have down, like, for my recap is the Eagles beat us at our own game. Like, we like to out-physical people. We like to run the ball, play action, have stifling defense, and that's what the Eagles did. They just outdid us at our own game, did it better than us. The biggest thing for me was not having George Pickens on offense. Like, we got Pat Fryer with the ball here and there, but other than that, like, our other receivers just aren't it. And, you know, Mike Williams not playing much. I don't really understand that. Like, he's really our only deep ball threat, and that's what we have done well. That's what Russ has done well. Like, without that deep ball threat, our run game, they were stacking the box, stopping our run. We didn't really have anything. Another thing is Arthur Smith, he got to do better. I feel like the play calling was just not there this game at all. It was so predictable. And very inconsistent as to what we were trying to do. Like, the beginning of the game, we tried to establish a run, wasn't working. Let Russ cook. He did that against the Bengals, worked out for us. The Eagles secondary is good, but I don't think it's that incredibly good.
So I actually disagree with you on this.
I don't think Slay's that great. I mean, the rookie's good.
The defense is for the Eagles is good. And ever since Cooper DeJean has gone in there in the slot, Quinyon Mitchell's had a borderline like defensive rookie of the year campaign that he's had. Hits between him and Jared Verse at this point. Their safeties are solid. For me, I think like even with the bad play calling, we were still in the game. It was Najee's fumble that to me slammed the door shut on the game. I think, and this is also a stat that I was reading about. Russell on average only had 2.3 seconds to throw the ball. So, I mean, you're talking about setting up the deep ball, and you're talking about doing that. Arthur Smith's offense is indicative on the run game. And when at minimum they're putting 8 people in the box to stop the run, and Russ on average only has 2.3 seconds to throw the ball. I mean, we're talking like Big Ben final year with Kendrick Green and Dotson and all those boys on the offensive line type of quickness of throwing the ball. Like, I don't know how we're supposed to set the deep ball up when they're coming in that fast. So I think the Steelers' plan was to play conservative and hopefully take advantage of opportunities that they were going to get in the game, which they did. And with officiating and with, our own mistakes, we just didn't capitalize on them. And I think that in this game, we had to win conservatively because they were getting back there. They were swatting Russ's balls down. They were getting and disrupting him and sacking him. He didn't have a lot of time to get going. You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't I get it. It was very predictable, but it was the only way that we were going to get in there and muddy it up and get a win. And so, yeah, again, the stats don't look good. The time of possession looks terrible. The yardage differential looks terrible. But at the end of the day, towards the tail end of the third quarter, about to go into the fourth, Steelers are driving, and they're going to put points on the board, whether it's a field goal or a touchdown. And you're talking about it being a one-score game going into the fourth quarter. So we can harp on that all we want, but at the end of the day, we were still right there, and our own players' mistake is what cost us. So I don't know. I chalk this up as, it was an NFC game. It doesn't matter. It's not counting towards anything. The only thing it is a loss on the record, and it's time to move on because unless we see them in the Super Bowl, we're not seeing Philadelphia again. And so that's kind of where I'm at with it. Juwan, you were kind of feeling a little bit positive after the game. I know initially we were all pissed because it sucked to feel that way, but what were your thoughts after kind of soaking in the loss?
Yeah, I was only pissed like during the game, but after the game I didn't really dwell on it. I mean, this is a team on the other spectrum, We'll see them when it really matters, if we see them again. I would say this game is probably the worst game we played. And it's probably it's the worst game we played, but it's fixable stuff that we could do. Like, start off, how you said, the offense. We start off slow. We keep on starting off slow. Arthur Smith this week said that we're going to start faster, which I hope we really do start faster. I just want to see it to believe it. The defense, the missed tackles, this is the most missed tackles that we had this whole season. And then for the most part, I think we was in the game. Of course, the Najee fumble. The unsportsmanlike conduct, I'm not going to talk about it now. I'm going to wait till we talk about Hard Knocks. But, yeah, the officiating is, I don't want to be the one to say, it's kind of the agenda. I like to say the agenda is out. I mean, this game showed that it's kind of agenda out for us. But I'm not going to dwell on it. It's a NFC, AFC. It really didn't matter to me if we win or lose. We was going in, we lost 10 games straight. So we was going in knowing that we was going to lose, hoping that we was going to win because, we're Steelers fans and that's how we think. But this week is the week that we really need to crack on.
And just to hit on penalties before, Trey, you hit your point, there was another one where Jalen Carter smacks Connor Hayward on that punt.
Forgot about that.
And
they called it first.
I know they called it, and it was supposed to be Steelers first down, but then they're like, he already kicked it. If you go back and look at the all 22, he had not kicked it yet. This is what I'm trying to tell you. This is what I'm trying to say. The Eagles won. The Eagles are a great team, and if the NFC has to go through Philadelphia, I truly believe they are going to go to the Super Bowl. If it goes through Philadelphia, I think they represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. That is how good the Eagles are. And so with everything that went their way and the fact that we were still right there, again, the final drive that they just milked the clock out completely and we only had the ball twice in the second half. It sucks. It looks like it sucks. But a few plays go the opposite way and you're right there in the game. And also, not to mention, the crew that was reffing the game, I actually had heard about this and I'd forgot about it and didn't put it in my notes to you. But the home team wins 70% of the games that they officiate and get most of the calls. And so that's another aspect to this game that was like, well, it's just following the trend.
Just going against us. Another big play that I want to point out is you were talking about missed tackles. It was a 3rd and 7, I think. Sometime in the third quarter, it was a 3rd and 7, and I forget who caught it, but they split Patrick Queen and I think James Pierre.
It was Gainwell, the running back.
Yep.
And spin move.
And that was huge. We were getting the ball back.
The spin move was on Jackson, wasn't it?
I think Jackson was out at that point. It was in the third quarter. But like you said, the missed tackles were uncharacteristic of our defense, and those are things that I feel like we'll tighten up, be better in this game. And we got to be. This is for the division, so.
You know, one thing, we talk about the negative stuff. One thing that had me, like, confident, especially for the rest of the season, that we accomplished was holding Saquon down. Because he didn't really have a good game.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, like how we said on the last podcast that, A.J. Brown, with all the news and all the headlines and all this stuff, that he was going to have a big game. We knew that. We already knew that was going to happen. But the main thing was slowing down 26. Because that's, like, he's on pace, to break Barry Sanders' record. I think it's Barry Sanders.
No. It's
Dickerson, right?
Yeah, Eric Dickerson.
One of them. But I liked how we played him and how we slowed him down. And that was like one of my biggest things about this game. And from that, that's a contender. That's like a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah.
And we played good with them.
I do like having these games down the stretch because, going to the playoffs, you want to play some tougher teams so you're geared up, ready to play good teams. Another thing I want to say is a concern of mine is our secondary. Like Joey Porter Jr., he was on AJ a lot of the game. He started following him. When he plays against some of these tougher wide receiver ones, I don't know if he has it this year.
You know how we can say that he doesn't have it, but he's actually top 5 in like lockdown.
No, I get that, but I mean AJ was cooking him.
When I was looking at this matchup, I knew that the focal point was going to be to stop Saquon Barkley, and they did that. But the silver lining here is that when you hone in on the run game that much, you're going to leave pockets open in the pass game, right? Not many other teams are going to have the stud wide receivers that the Eagles have. And for a quarterback that's been struggling this year, Jalen Hurts has not had his best season. He had his best game against the Steelers on Sunday. So when you add all those things up, Jalen Hurts has his best game. Steelers stuff the run, which at times that they've struggled to do this season. I think you can pick and choose certain things that are positives coming out on this. And just one more, we haven't beaten Philadelphia in Philadelphia since 1965. The last time we won the Super Bowl, we lost in Philadelphia. It was the only game that we had lost by more than one score back in 2008. And I believe there's another time, I think, the Carson Wentz rookie year when they blew the doors off of us in 2016. Well, we went to the AFC Championship that year. So it's not like just because losing to Philadelphia, which the Steelers have historically done in that city, is going to kill us. It's only going to make us stronger. And honestly, a good ass whooping feels good to wake this team up going into these final 3 games and going into the playoffs. It's like, hey, you've had a good run. You've been playing well. The games that you've lost, you could argue you shouldn't have lost, and it was some fluky things. Well, guess what? You lost, and you lost pretty significantly. And so I think, if anything, They played up to the competition's level. They came up short, and they felt a little embarrassed while doing it. And I think that it could potentially motivate them going into this final stretch of the season.